Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, 988 provides 24/7 compassionate support and connection to trained counselors. When you call, text, or chat 988, you'll be quickly connected to trained counselors who will listen to your concerns, provide support, and connect you to additional resources if needed. There is hope. The Lifeline works. You are not alone. For 24/7 support, just call, text, or chat 988.
In times of old, in times of new, there's a God to follow to make it true. It's the pop culture field, and you will. All right, nobody move, everybody get on the ground. Nobody move. Have you ever been in a situation like this?
So convincing, honestly, right off the bat.
I would yell incoherently if I was. I would just wanted to confuse. It's the element of surprise, really. If you're taking hostages, that's what you need to go in with, and no Russian.
No Russian.
Welcome everybody. We are back, folks. It's season 3 now. Cameron,
season 3
of the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast. It's great to be back after our long hiatus. It was a long time for you guys, but not so long for us because we record all these episodes all at once. But we are back. We're ready to go. We've taken a break, and we're ready to jump into it with some high octane, high tension action and suspense with hostage rescue episode. And I'm very excited about this one because it's for a lot of these ones, Cameron. You don't realize how many hostage type movies you've actually seen until you try to do a podcast episode on them. You're like, wow, I've seen a lot of them, Yeah,
you're like, that's totally a hostage. They're hostages in that movie. Or the entire movie's not about hostages, but there's a specific part where there is a hostage scene in that movie.
Yes.
The list goes on and on.
Like RoboCop. Like in RoboCop, there's one scene where the dude is like, "Oh well, yeah, people like the rape victim girl in the alleyway, and then the dude at the bank, right?
Yeah,
and that's a hostage situation, but it's like 2 minutes,
Yeah. So all these action movies typically have hostage scenes in them.
What do you think? What do you think it is about the hostage situation that so captures our imaginations, and because I feel like hostage situations have evolved. It used to be, I feel like I'm thinking specifically of like political ones, geopolitical ones. It used to be where they would like capture people, they'd like kidnap people in order to have like a certain set of like political demands. Goal. Yeah, you need to do this.
Like that was back in the 70s.
Yeah,
like you saw that a lot in the 70s and the 80s before, obviously 9/11 happened where TSA, like you can get on an airplane with a knife and have no problem back then.
Right, that was a popular target, if you will.
Yeah, so like flying was a no-brainer because you could jack an entire airliner and then, hold them hostage until they release some of your country nationals in your prison that you're holding.
Right.
Yeah, so it was it's a very interesting dynamic. I'm glad you brought up that switch because nowadays hostage is like more, I think, instead of a political goal, it's more of just like a mental health thing.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, there's been a couple incidents where it's like, I never saw the movie. It's not on the list, but John Boyega was in one. It's based on a true story. He was a veteran, and he was just trying to get his VA check cashed or something like that, and that ended up turning into this hostage situation. I'll have to look it up because I didn't put it on the list because I didn't watch it. Anyway, yeah, it's something like that. But then also, I don't know. Maybe it's just like the modern day iterations. It's like it's not so much like they want to make a statement, and maybe it is like about like either just getting a message out and then like killing people, or or maybe I always feel like bank robberies go wrong and then they end up staying in there and
become a hostage.
It become a hostage situation. Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a thing too. But no, they've definitely evolved, and they're a little bit different nowadays. But I'm sure there's still like, some political, but it's like, how do you get on a plane with TSA? To be honest, like TSA is good and bad to me.
Sure.
Yeah. Cause like these incidents happen. So like, they're not big incidents. I mean, they're huge incidents. Like obviously 9/11 was a giant thing, but they didn't happen like all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus the amount of flights that were happening out. But yeah, I hate TSA because I don't want to take my shoes off.
Yeah.
To get on the plane.
You get the 3D scan where you put the hands up.
Yeah.
Breaking, by the way, Breaking is the name of the movie. It came out.
Breaking.
Yeah, it came out late last year. I'm sure it's a good film. John Boyega doesn't choose to do well. Besides Star Wars, he doesn't choose to do bad movies.
Oh yeah, look at this. Look at his glasses.
Yeah. It's based on.
I just want my
story.
VA.
He plays Brian Brown Easley, a former U.S. Marine who took the law into his own hands when the Department of Veteran Affairs mislaid his disability payment. He took hostage.
Oh, so was he holding them?
He took hostage in a bank. Yeah, both to protest against the error and highlight that he faced destitution as a result. Yeah, totally that he needed this check, and and he they misappropriated or whatever. He didn't get it, so it ended up turning.
Well, I mean, just diving right in, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Let's dive in. Well, it's the incident is very sad because I don't think it was one of those ones where he was aggressive. The people in the incident even said, the bankers were saying he was a nice guy. He's like, I didn't want for any of this to happen. They didn't feel that their lives maybe were in danger so much from him, but I don't think it ended well. I think he ended up, I'm not really sure. I think he ended up being shot,
Oh, okay.
But anyways, that's the first.
You're ready to go. You're ready to go, but I'm going to have to
man.
Stop you for 1 second because we have a special shout out before we get into this. Before we dive in, Izzy's already treading. I'll stop and say the shout out then.
Yes, you do the important work.
Okay. We want to do a special shout out to, and please correct me or don't if I don't say your last name correctly, but to Nick Colho, who sent us an email and suggested this episode topic. We read the emails and do take your guys' suggestions. Although sometimes we don't get around. We'll read them and be like, look how cool this email is. And then that'll be what happens to the email. Yeah. But we do read them all. I'll tell you, we do read them all.
Yep.
But, talking about real life before we go in, because I know you're ready to itch. Because hostage rescues is what this episode is about, not necessarily just hostage situations, but the guys that have to go in and rescue these guys too, right?
Yep.
It's a very touchy, it's a very specialized skill that not everybody in the military, or even, the federales, if you will, because, FBI has HRT, which is their hostage rescue team, which is their specialized direct action in the FBI. Yeah, we have all these very specialized units that, train days and days and years to do this specific job because it's not the same as a raid. Mm-hmm. It is not the same as a raid, It's a lot more at stake. There's a lot more speed and aggression that has to be used. There's a lot more risks that have to be taken. Mm-hmm. Because, you have literally... You're not going in thinking that, you're going to get into a fight. You're going in thinking that, I hope they don't kill these people.
Right.
So it's kind of like a ticking time bomb. So it's definitely specialized. Have you ever done any hostage rescue type training in special forces?
No, man, we never did. It might have just been the what was going on at the time. It was all about, I think, more like Iraq and Afghanistan. And... Mm-hmm. For us, for us, for what we went into, we were going out looking for the bad guys. That was what we were doing. Now, obviously, we had those kinds of civilian considerations, non-combatant considerations. In fact, the incident I've talked about in the past where I was the breacher, we go into it was actually the wrong house. We had bad intel, and it was just a family there. And so, obviously, we are aware of that, and we look for that weapon. If we see the weapon in the hands, then they're going down. But we have that wherewithal. And we're trained to have that situational awareness that we're not going to shoot anybody that doesn't have a weapon in their hands. We want to secure them, but that thought process is there. But no, we didn't do any hostage rescue type training.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a very specialized skill. The only unit that I knew that really trained it well was Delta, and they actually, when I got to do a 3-week train up with them before my unit deployed with them, and I ended up going to Ranger School instead, so that's awesome. But
I'm not bitter at all.
Yeah, there's another boat missed. But they did a they did a hostage rescue demonstration for us in their shoot house. And it was the top 5 coolest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
Like, it was so fast. It was unbelievably fast. It was superhuman. I'd never seen anything like that. Like, literally, they started in, like, this gaggle outside of the shoot house. In just, like, a group. There was 2 different squads, if you will, because their composition is a little bit different from conventional forces, but they were just sitting like this gaggle messing around, and we're all on the top railings of the shoot house, because for those of you who aren't familiar, like the shoot house has like a catwalk, kind of like a stage does, to mess with the lighting. So that way you can look down into the shoot house and like see how people are moving, and you can train that way. So we're all standing on the catwalk, and we're with their sergeant major. And the sergeant major like looks at us and he's like, "Don't blink." And then he goes, "All right." He goes on his radio and he goes, 3, 2, 1, execute. And right when he says execute, this gaggle turns into like this javelin formation. And these dudes are just dead sprinting from like nothing. You know, they came out of nowhere. And they're dead sprinting to 2 exterior breaches on either side of the shoot house. And as they're running, the breacher is already plugging in his charge while he's running. And, like, the dudes go to all their positions immediately. The breacher sets the charge on the door, backs up, immediately blows it in a matter of, like, 5 seconds. It was, like, the fastest breach I've ever seen. And he just, like, pulls back, blows it, and they go sprinting in the door. And as the 1 and 2 man are, like, coming in and actively shooting targets, there was, like, 2 targets in each room, and there were probably, like, 6 or 7 rooms.
Yeah.
The 1 and 2 men are, you know, taking their corners and shooting. And as they're shooting, the 3 and 4 men are going between them and already sprinting into the next room. So they cleared this like 7 room with like 2 targets each, and then back cleared it as well in what seemed like 15 seconds.
Yeah, they get speed, surprise, and violence of action all
it was perfect
at the same time.
I've never seen anything like that before. Like, I thought we were good. Because, you know,
and you
we
are. That's
good.
The thing is, you were good.
Yeah, we were good, and we are good. But then I saw that, and we're like, oh my god, like these dudes are on another level. Yeah, it was crazy. But that's my experience of saying HRT. But historically speaking, Rangers have been involved, including Navy SEALs and Marines, and some Air Force personnel were involved in the rescue of Jessica Lynch. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, Jessica Lynch. She was an Army sergeant, or she was in the Army,
in Iraq.
Private, early days Iraq, right?
Early days Iraq, and she was, I believe it's Iraq.
Yeah.
Her company was ambushed, and Iraqi troops took her to the hospital and basically held her captive there.
Yep.
Saddam Hussein's troops, or taken to the Saddam Hussein General Hospital, and she was taken by Iraqi troops. And basically, Rangers from 175 and Navy SEALs were in charge of rescuing her.
I didn't know that. I didn't know who the units were. I knew that she was rescued. That was kind of a big to-do or big story back then.
Yeah. So it was 1st Ranger Battalion, because that was part of the history we needed to know as privates. So yeah, they did Jessica Lynch, but most of the big, you know, hostage rescue operations are typically done by like Delta Force and SEAL Team 6 and all these very specialized Tier 1 groups, because it is such a specialized skill set and you need to train it. But anyways, that's just some fun facts for you guys. Let's dive in, because Izzy's been treading and I'm sure he's ready to go.
Well, there's so many great ones to choose from. I guess we could start with, let's see, I'm looking down the list here. Oh my God, we got to start here, man. How could this be on the list if we not start here? Commando from 1985, retired Special Forces soldier. I don't know if he was Special Forces, because he fights a Green Beret. He fights because he's got that line when he's in the hotel with
Green Berets.
He's like, this Green Beret is gonna kick you. He's like, I eat Green Berets for breakfast, and right now I'm very hungry. So anyway, John Matrix, Arnold Schwarzenegger, lives up in the mountains with his daughter, played by a very young at the time Alyssa Milano. and he gets offered. Fellow soldiers getting killed by one, and then Jenny's kidnapped and taken to like a Latin American dictator, generic Latin American dictator, and she's held hostage, and they want him to do this mission to go like kill somebody, but he instead kills his handlers and he's flying away he's taking off from LAX, and he gets down into the is he
getting the cargo?
The landing gear, and he jumps off into like maybe it wasn't LAX because it was like swamplands, but he jumps into the swamplands from the airliner taking off from the landing gear. But
that's extreme,
dude.
Shit.
I mean, it's such a great action movie, and the hostage situation obviously would be his daughter is held captive. So the whole point of the movie is he's got a time limit, because the bad guys think that he's off doing this mission, and he has to check in by a certain time. So I think it's like maybe the morning the next day. So he's got like that night to get weapons and fight his way to this generic South American island where his daughter's being. And he's got his buddy Bennett, who is one of his former friends who's turned on him, who now wears chainmail shirts, wife beater chainmail shirts, and it's just awesome. It's great. It's
there's
classic action.
That pinnacle of 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger action, and this movie I think is like the highlight of it.
Yep.
You have big guns, you have big muscles,
you have one-liners, you have great one-liners. Yeah,
great. Hey, remember when I told you I'd kill you last? I lied. And then obviously you have
this is my week off.
This is my week off. And then obviously when you have the final battle between Bennett and John Matrix, and he puts the tubing through his chainmail, and he says, Bennett let off some steam.
Yep. And he puts it all the way so perfectly through him that the steam on the back end goes through the pipe, and it's flowing through the guy out the pipe, which is
just amazing.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about Commando before, but it's been some time, so I figured it's time to resurface its very handsome face, because it is an iconic hostage rescue movie, and it's one that is just like Predator, where you can watch it over and over and you still crack up every time you hear these one-liners that are coming. Plus, they just have the most over-the-top weapons that the 80s loves to put in movies.
Yeah.
You have like this crazy-looking AK that he has, and then he has the 4-barrel bazooka launcher
the 4
thing.
tubes, which she what is it? Rae Dong Chong is the lady that he happens upon who ends up helping him out to rescue his daughter, but he gets captured by the police, and he's in the big the paddy wagon, and I don't know what she was thinking. Like she gets the rocket launcher, and she has it backwards, so she fires it backwards, and then she flips around forwards and shoots the van, and it blows up to the side, and he gets out. But the 4-tuber, and then of course the improvised weapons, which. He gets the saw blades. He's in like the tool shed.
He's using the saw blades as he's throwing them. Amazing.
Doesn't he get a pickaxe?
I've always wondered if that. Yeah, I always wondered if those could be used as weapons.
Yeah, I'm sure it would hurt, but you have to realize like how much force would you have to throw it with in order to get it to stick into somebody? Like you could throw it at somebody and hit them, and that would hurt. The blades in your eye or chest or whatever.
Yeah, that would be an amazing. Debunked episode,
like a Mythbusters kind of thing.
Pop culture Mythbusters.
Pop culture busters. Yeah.
They did a show like that. Did you see that before?
Mythbusters?
Yeah, no. Obviously, there's been Mythbusters, but they did this pop culture show to see if you could do like all these iconic scenes. Like for example, Die Hard is a hostage rescue as well.
Yes, Die Hard. Yep.
So it's totally appropriate. But that scene where he has the hose and he basically has the MP5 and he runs off the roof and he shoots the window out with the MP5 and bursts through it.
Yep.
They try to like debunk if you could actually do that in real life in the show. So it's a pop culture Mythbusters. I only think it had like one season.
It's a great idea, man, because there's so many iconic moments from action movies that they're iconic because they're amazingly done and they're just so outlandish that you but they're like, wait, could that really? I even think it was a pistol that he shot with the window with, like a 9.
Was it? I thought it was an MP5.
But yeah, I think that's such a great idea. I'm surprised it would only have one season.
Yeah, I don't know what it was called. I'm trying to find it right now, but I'll have to find it later. Because I remember watching it. I'm like, this is a great concept. They even did like the whole, can you shoot an oxygen tank in a shark's mouth and will it blow it up?
Oh, from Jaws.
Yeah, from Jaws. So they did like all these iconic like pop culture scenes and tried to do them in real life to see if that they can actually happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened to it. I mean, I guess it's free game now if you want to pick it up. Yeah.
Oh, man. That good opener, man.
Great.
I'll never, just my childhood. I guess people feel the same way about their childhood pop culture, I'm sure, as I do about the 1980s, but I just feel like that was just one of the best decades for movies. And I mean, there were some real stinkers during the 80s as well, but I guess I only remember the good times and I block out the bad. What do you think, man? What do you,
I'd love to talk about this one. It's not U.S. forces, but it was a really good representation of the British SAS, I think. Have you ever seen 6 Days?
I haven't, man, and I wish I tried to watch it.
It's really good.
I tried to watch it, I had intentions of watching it before we did this episode, but I just couldn't quite get to it. But no, this is a very famous incident because it was kind of what brought the SAS kind of into the public eye, right?
Public eye, yeah. They were pretty secretive, in the beginning. And the movie's amazing. I really like it. So basically, in April of 1980, 6 Iranian Arabs stormed the Iranian embassy in Kensington, London, and hold 26 hostages. And they basically, they're holding them for multiple days, and they have, British negotiators trying to talk with them and everything. And it becomes a very political, event because they're ultimately demanding, like we mentioned in the beginning, that they release 91 Arab prisoners in Iran or they'll kill a hostage at noon the following day. So the negotiators are negotiating with them. All meanwhile, that SAS gets the word, and these dudes, like, there's this awesome scene where it introduces the SAS, and they're all wearing gas masks, just like in Call of Duty. And they're like clearing this bus, and they're practicing these like basically hostage rescue missions.
Yeah,
and they're doing them for time, and they keep doing them, and they realize this is happening, so they start running the scenario over and over and over again. Like, what's the best way to do this? And they're like, oh no, this way you did it, they killed a hostage. Oh no, this way you did it, a hostage ended up dying. So they're like continuing to basically train this scenario multiple times, and they're just waiting to be spun up by the British government because they're still working with them and, obviously trying to negotiate with these hostages. Because obviously if you don't send in, if you commit to sending in a unit, you have a high probability that a hostage will die, right? The priority is negotiating with them for a peaceful release where nobody's harmed.
Yeah, it's not the first line of defense. It's the last ditch effort.
It's the very last. So basically, on day 5, Salim is like the main baddie, and he demands the BBC World Service broadcasted terrorist statements, given the reasons for their actions, and as the oppression by the Iranian government in Arabistan at the time. Hearing the news, Salim thanks Max and releases 2 hostages. So basically, that's day 5. So they release 2 hostages, but on day 6, they kill a hostage after the demand of bringing them a bus to get out of there is not met. And then after they kill that hostage, the secretary or the Home Secretary in Britain authorizes the SAS operation, and they're pretty much instructed to do anything to stall or distract the terrorists from the assault. After that, during the assault, Salim and 3 other terrorists are killed at the cost of 1 hostage, but none of the SAS men, although one is really badly burned on his left leg because they start a fire by accident.
Yeah.
Trying to get in.
There's some pretty dramatic footage of some of this too.
Yeah. And like the whole scene is super awesome. Like they go in and they're like, they rappel in on like the second story of the building, and like they go through the windows, and there's like, not your classic method of entry, just going in the front door, which obviously the SAS being a very elite unit, they use all their resources at them. But yeah, the final assault scene is super cool. They get all the baddies, and then outside the embassy, the hostages are detained and searched, and they find the sixth and last terrorist trying to hide among them. And there's like this, he tries to kill an SAS guy, and they end up arresting him. And it's just, it's a very high-paced, especially during the training montages where they're like trying to perfect this. You can see how bad like the SAS operators want to be used, and how serious they take the training, and how like kind of they are perfectionists, which a lot of special operation guys are, because you want to be the best at your job. So like they take it very seriously, and they want to be used. So these training montages, they do it every single time. They run it over and over and over and over again at 110% every single time. So the movie's really good. I think it does a really good job of showing how serious of a unit the SAS is, and also how like just how much was on the line during this 6 days that these hostages were captured. And yeah, like you said, it's all based off of a true story. So
yeah, I mean, that's not every hostage situation ends up going well. Like, and any loss of life is very sad, but it's amazing what these special units can do. And like you say, like what a high level they can train at to achieve their goal, and in some cases it really does pay off almost perfectly.
Yeah,
it's
like they'll train weeks to do something that takes 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it'll all be over. Yeah, it'll all be over. That rehearsal always gets me because I've been done some acting, and you rehearse to do acting scenes and plays and whatnot. To think about that, to be that kind of mindset, to rehearse where lives are on the line and real bullets are flying, and to like try to set up the hallways in these like little rehearsal areas like the embassy's interior, because I'm sure they had plans and maps of layouts of the how the embassy looks, so they know exactly what they're going into, almost exactly, given a few variables, maybe.
Especially if it's at home.
Yes.
If it's a hostage at home, they have the layout, they have the blueprints.
Right.
Like when I was training with Delta, they had 1-for-1 scale of Bin Laden's compound.
Wow.
And they would train on it. It was the coolest thing I've seen. And like all their villages, because for us, if we run a training mission, at least for me in the newer days, like we would hit villages and stuff, but they'd pretty much just be like connexes stacked together in the layout of a building. They're not high budget,
right? But
like on Delta's compound, all their 1-for-1 scale of like these villages were down authenticity wise to the brick. Like they even had walls made of like that mud brick type of material.
Yeah.
And like, they had bazaars with, fruit carts out front that were all, built out. And they had like 1-for-1 scale villages on their compound to train on. That was super cool when I went there.
And, we've talked about it before, but just in the vein of talking about the high level of training, Captain Phillips, when he was taken off of the boat by his captors into
Phillips.
Such a good movie, into the like
such
little escape
I
boat.
just watched it for the first time.
Wait, you just watched for the first time?
For the first time.
What, dude?
It was so good, dude. It was so good. I almost cried. It almost got me.
Dude, at the end, when he's been saved and he's sitting there. Yeah, I mean, I think they must have gotten like a real medic, because the person didn't seem like an actor when she's checking him out, and he's actually starting to break down. And he's like, all right, I need you to look at me. Look at me. I just need you to breathe,
Calm down.
Calm
what?
Down. Yeah, exactly.
He's so good. Tom Hanks is such a good actor.
He's an American treasure.
He's literally an American treasure.
But the how they got him finally was they had all the snipers at the edge of the boat, the DevGru snipers, and they had to get them all at the same time, because if they missed, then they would have noticed and they would have killed him. Yeah. But they do that coordinated shot, and they didn't. They just train all the time, but they train for moments like this. And they didn't get a chance to, I don't know if they did any rehearsals beforehand, because the incident took a couple of days, but they have to just be that good.
I think it took like one day, because by the time they got on the lifeboats and they called the Navy, they said like it would take them 36 hours to get to land in Somalia. And so they spun up DevGru, they Halo jumped in, and they ended up on the boat. And it was super cool. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from them. It was a pretty, that shot, those 3 simultaneous shots, because obviously everybody has to be on the same page, and that the lifeboat that they are in is completely covered. Like, there was only these tiny windows to look through. They could see the driver most of the time, but the two other guys holding Captain Phillips hostage, like, they were never in sight most of the time. Like, when you're listening to the radio chatter, they're like, we have 2 reds, 1 green. And with that is be like, 1 green is like, we can see him, and red means you can't see him. So most of the time they're like, we have 1 green, 2 red, still 1 green, 2 red. And at that little final moment where they're in the wake and like he takes 1 step to the right and they see a little bit of his head, they're just like, execute, and they go,
yeah.
And
the boat is moving the entire time. It's in the wake of the ship. They're towing it, but there's less variability, but it's still moving in the water. It's still crazy, moving. Man.
It's a crazy shot to take. Yeah. I think they took it at like 150 meters, 200 meters away too. So yeah, and it was taken at nighttime. Yeah. So they're using night vision optics and like thermal optics.
I was if I was one of those Dev Crew guys, I'm like, no matter what else happens in my career, I'll always have
that.
This.
Was it. Yeah, that was it. That was a good highlight. Yeah, Captain Phillips as a whole movie, amazing. Yeah, just I can't say it enough. Tom Hanks is a gifted actor. Yes. Like, because they didn't, I think they do a really good job of telling the story. Because like Captain Phillips wasn't well liked on that boat. He was a hard ass. Like, his crew didn't like him that much. Because he was a hard ass. Like, that scene when he walks in and all the crew are like taking a coffee break, and he's like, he walks in and all he says is, what does he say? He says like, "So coffees are done, huh?" And they're all looking at each other like, yeah, I guess we have to get back to work because this dickhead is, pushing us to get back to work.
Yeah, there was a bit of a controversy. Some of the crew had complained after the fact that he did not heed. There was a warning for the ships to be at least 650 nautical miles off the coast of where they were, the route that they were taking. His rebuttal to that was that pirates had been known to go out, on maybe 800, 1,000, 1,500 nautical miles off the coast anyway. So they were complaining that maybe he was more worried about speed and getting there on time and getting a bonus than anything else. But on the other hand, pirates had been known to attack very many miles offshore. So there's kind of a bit of back and forth in that area.
Well, we got time to talk about one more here.
Only one? There's so many on this list.
There's so many on this list, but we're running out of time. I'm sorry.
We'll have to do Hostages Part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, of course. We always have to do a Part 2 of all these episodes because we find more that we always think, oh, this episode might be a little thin. And then we get to it and we're like, oh, no, wait. There's this and this and this and this and this. Oh, now we have to do a Part 2. But for real, this one's going to be the last one. I think it's pretty cool. Have you seen Argo?
I have, man. Great movie.
Great movie. Plus, I think it's a good way to take this off because it is a true hostage rescue, but in the most unconventional way possible. Yes. I mean, you can, if you're very familiar with it, I've seen it one time and it's been some time, but you want to talk about it real quick?
It's so original, man. This is back in the Cold War era where the CIA, you had to get really inventive to fight against your enemies. And I feel like maybe they had a lot more lateral freedom of movement to come up with crazy ideas. But it's 1979. It's Iran. It's the 444-day hostage situation where Muslim radicals, they stormed the embassy in Tehran, Iran. And they take it over. They take hostages. That's like the main story. But what I didn't know about until I saw the movie was that there were 6 Americans who slipped away and were hiding with the Canadian ambassador who was in the country at the time as well. And their lives were in danger, The hostages were at least, like, they knew where they were and they had demands, and there was this kind of like long and drawn out thing, but the 6 Americans were kind of flapping in the breeze. So Argo is about, it's Ben Affleck who plays the CIA operative, and he's basically tasked with getting them out. And what they do is, and I forget how the idea came about, but they come up with a fake movie. They get these Hollywood producers involved, and they create this movie but it's all just a front. It's a cover, an excuse for them to go into Iran and posing as American filmmakers, like they're scouting the locations and stuff like that.
Scouting locations for this movie.
Yeah, and so it's not like they just say that they are, but they have a script and they do a table read. They have a big like a party, to celebrate. It's very like a Star Wars type of movie, sci-fi. Is that I think Argo might have been the name.
I think the Argo is the name of the film they're trying to make.
But,
quote unquote trying to make.
Yeah. But ultimately that is the cover that they use to get into the country, and it's a very tense situation, and they end up getting the 6 people out. Nobody's killed. There's not really, it's a drama. There's not really a lot of action except the tension in the end.
Yeah, it's more of a thriller than anything.
Yeah, there you go.
There's not big explosions. There's not big gunfights, but it's just the fact that they're trying to get these people out under this completely fake plan. And they try to, and the plan is to cast these American refugees as part of the crew, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As they're on their way out, they're like, oh, these are all part of our crew and stuff, and it actually, I was just looking this up, but it actually won Best Picture in 2013. Best Adapted Screenplay,
Wow. Best
Film Editing, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Score, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Sound Editing. So it cleaned up.
It cleaned up, yeah, wow.
I
had no idea it won all those awards, but yeah, it's a great movie with a very interesting and innovative plot. And the coolest thing about it is it's based off a true story.
Yeah. Yeah, so crazy. And what, did Ben Affleck direct it? Yes, it directed he directed and starred in it.
No, that's the most Ben Affleck thing to do.
So it's a great movie all around. And like you said, Cameron, the best part about it is that it's based on an actual truth. Like it actually happened. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Hostage rescue, man.
Yeah.
hell of a time,
Yeah.
Hell of a time to be alive and be a hostage.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Yeah, I would not want to be in that situation. Actually, Cameron, I have a little surprising anecdote for you. My brother Scott, my oldest brother Scott, was actually a hostage.
That's not something. Does he put that on his resume?
Yeah. He was actually in a hostage situation. My brother back in the 90s was a manager at Blockbuster Video, if you guys remember that.
Of course.
And he was there were people that broke into the back and came in the front and took him and an employee hostage while they robbed the place. And it was a very intense situation and crazy story I don't just know celebrities, Cameron. I know hostages.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Dude, you know everybody. You're the most well-connected guy in Hollywood, I swear. Well, I was a hostage too.
You were?
For about 4.5 years in the U.S. Army. Yeah.
Hey, okay, then I was too.
Yeah, there you go. We both have hostage experience. But, well, that's a crazy story, man. I'm glad your brother, was fine after that.
Yeah.
And, hell, shit, man. Well, we're running out of time here, but we still have this game to play. So you ready?
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's play some games.
Okay, let's play some games. So this game, I'm the game master. And for our first game, kicking off season 3, we're going to do a little different. We're going to do a little game called Two Truths and a Lie. Very straightforward. You've probably played.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 3 facts about a real life hostage. And you have to tell me which of the facts, in fact, is BS. You got that? Are you ready?
Yeah. 2 truths and a lie. 2 truths and a lie. Got it.
Okay, so 2 truths and a lie. Here we go. Starting off, no warm-ups. Patty Hearst, the granddaughter of American publishing magnate William Randolph Hearst.
Gotcha.
She became the first. She first became known for the events following her 1974 kidnapping. So, fact number 1: the name of the group who kidnapped her was Symbionese Liberation Army. The Symbionese Liberation Army was the name of the group that kidnapped her. Fact 2: Patty Hearst eventually joined her kidnappers and committed crimes with them, including bank robbery, of which she was later acquitted. Fact 3: she was captive / on the run for 19 months after her abduction. Which of those facts is a lie?
Wow, that's tough. I know that she was famous for joining her captors. And she did, I think she did rob a bank with them. I'm going to say the first one is a lie. I don't know how long she was out there. I think she was captured for a long time, and then she eventually, it was like Stockholm Syndrome, basically, where they eventually identify with their captors, and she ended up joining. So I'm going to say the first one is a lie, and the last two are true.
Well, I'm going to say your life is a lie, because fact number 2 was the lie.
What?
Patty Hearst eventually joined her kidnappers and committed crimes with them, including bank robbery, of which she was later acquitted. That is a lie.
That's a lie?
That is a lie. She was convicted and sentenced 7 years. That's what Chris says. Chris says that's a lie. So if you got any problems with that, you take it up with him. Okay?
I thought that I mean, Patty Hearst. I thought that she was the one that eventually ended up joining her captors. You know. Oh, interesting.
I wish I could give you more details, but I'm just the guy that reads the paper.
Oh, man. Oh, geez. He was held in custody of speculation trial before her family trial. Prosecutor said she joined the Symbionese Liberation Army of her own volition. However, she testified that she had been raped and threatened with death while held captive. In 1976, she was convicted for a crime of robbery. Well, all right. Anyway.
So I guess
listen.
I guess she joined them, but she didn't commit bank robbery.
All right. Well, in protest, I will allow it.
In protest. Okay. Sounds good.
With prejudice.
All right. Next one. Take it up with Chris, man. Take it up with Chris. The American hostage in Iran. Fact number 1. There were 105 Americans held hostage after Iranian college students stormed the U.S. Embassy. Fact number 2. The hostages were held for 444 days after being released. Jesus. Fact number 3. The United States only mounted one failed rescue attempt.
Well, I mean, the last two are, I think, dead on. So the first one has to be a lie. I don't know how many people stormed. I mean, I don't know if they were students or whatever, but it was 444 days, and I think there was only one. Yeah, there was only one failed attempt, unless there's some information that I don't know about. But Desert One was the name of the mission, and that failed because there was. Yeah, so I'm going to say the first one's a lie,
and I'm going to say that you are 100% correct. Hey. Fact number 1 was a lie. There weren't 105 Americans. There were 52 citizens and diplomats.
Oh,
so
52.
Half that amount.
Okay, all right.
52.
All right, cool.
Okay, well, good, man. You're coming back. We got one more here. And this one's a very well-known hostage situation. The Munich Massacre.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Munich.
They had that movie,
a terrorist
Munich.
attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a movie, Munich. Yeah, there is. A terrorist attack carried out during the Summer Olympics in Munich, West Germany, by 8 members of the Palestinian militant organization who infiltrated the Olympic Village. Fact number 1. 2 of the hostages lost their lives during the attack and subsequent hostage situation. Fact number 2. The name of the Palestinian organization was Black September. Fact number 3. This happened in 1972.
I think the big thing in the movie, as I recall, was that eventually all of the hostages got killed because they tried to do some sort of rescue attempt or whatever, and I think it went horribly wrong, and all the hostages got killed. So the other two seem pretty right on. I'm gonna say the first one is a lie,
and I'm gonna say, you know your massacre.
I know my massacres.
You know your
I don't know
massacres,
if I should be proud
man.
of
Good
that.
for you. That is 100% true. So fact number 1, you got it right on the head, man. This is a lie because all 11 hostages lost their lives. 2 in their rooms and 9 during the failed rescue attempt. Yeah, so that's a very tragic event that happened.
You ever seen Munich?
I've started Munich. I remember it's very dark the entire time.
Dark, yeah.
It's a very dark film. I started. I don't think I've gotten all the way through it.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, man. It's not like a lighthearted Steven Spielberg movie. It's pretty heavy.
It's pretty heavy.
It's kind of like a moral equivalency kind of thing because they end up going after the people that perpetrated the attack, and then the question at the end is like, well, were they any better than the people that perpetrated the attack? Or I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Big deep message there, huh? But good, man. Yeah, you 2 out of 3, not bad.
All right.
First one debatable, so take it up with Chris.
I'm gonna take a half point for that, Chris.
You take a half point. So no, dude, you did really good. So great job on that game.
Thank you. Great. Thank you for being an amazing game master, Cameron.
Thanks.
Thank
you
for joining me on
master of all. The best master debater.
Hey,
that is my role. Hey. Well, folks, that is all the time we have for this episode. Thank you for joining us on season 3. We are super excited to pick back up and give you guys exactly and gals exactly what you deserve, which is amazing podcasts about pop culture.
And if you want more amazing content, you got to join us on Patreon, folks. That is where the majority of the fun action takes place. You get full-length episodes on one tier, extra episodes on another tier, and then for our top-tier Lifer subscribers, we do a once-a-month live stream where we get together and watch a movie with Cameron and I commenting on the action, and we hang out. It's a good time. We got a Discord server for our top-tier subscribers as well. It's a good time, folks. Lots of fun content. So join us on Patreon, folks.
Absolutely. And with that,
cue music. What's going on, everybody? You just listened to the free version of the PCFM podcast. If you want full-length versions of podcast episodes, plus much, much more, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/PCFM podcast.
That is right, Israel. If you want access to this full episode, you have to subscribe to the Fuzzy Private tier, which is our cheapest tier on Patreon at $5 a month. But if you are interested in a little bit more, we also have the Salty Sergeant tier at $8 a month and the Lifer tier at $12 a month. So hopefully we will see you there, PCFM family. Cue music.